Here's a quick video on how to identify a fake Gibson Les Paul. First off, if you take a look at the bridge, most of the replicas will have flathead screw adjustments here, which are mostly on like Epiphones. If you see that, it's immediately a dead giveaway that it's not real. These newer replicas, some are copying the ABR style bridge like this one has, but even this is not completely accurate. If you take a look at here, you can see the posts are pretty short, so there's a large gap from the top of the bridge. On a real one, you'll see that the gap is a lot shorter. Sometimes they appear flush. Let's say that the seller has swapped that out with a real Gibson bridge. Unlikely but possible. You can tell that it's still not real by the position of the stop tailpiece. The knob actually is before the bridge really, but on a real one, it's further back from the bridge. So that's how you would tell right on the surface. If you want to check a little bit more in depth, we can move up to the headstock. A dead giveaway here is the truss rod. On the fake ones, you'll have a pretty gross looking cavity generally, but you'll see some sort of metric adjustment there. Legitimate Gibsons have the bell housing adjustment here, and a cleaner, not perfect because Gibson quality control is not very good, but a cleaner cutout. And also if you follow the headstock up, the Gibson logo is generally in a completely different position than on the fake Gibsons. On here, the material it's made out of is nice looking, but it's not the same as a real Gibson, but it's not even remotely in the right spot. As you can see, it's angled and it's kind of in between the tunings right there. This is not even close. We'll compare. And this is one of the better replicas, but it's still pretty far off. So now let's flip them over and take a look at the back. This is a Zach Wild replica, so it's not a perfect comparison, but I've noticed the construction on this is very similar to most of the fake Gibsons coming out now. You can see the neck has this joint and on the heel as if it was made out of two different pieces of wood. Pretty much all the replicas I've seen have this now. That's a dead giveaway. Gibson will never do that. And on a legitimate Gibson, not only is it obviously one piece of wood, but it's a slight flame to it. It's obviously a high grade wood. But look at the headstock. You can see that it's actually made out of three pieces. You have these nice ears on the headstock. Every Gibson I've ever seen has that, whereas it will be a solid piece of wood on the replicas. This one's painted to cover it up, but you get the point. The next way to tell right away, and it seems that all the fake ones have this, the serial number on these are like etched in, whereas the Gibson ones are pressed in, and that is a dead giveaway. The font's not even remotely accurate. This one's actually pretty good in terms of the centering of the Made in the USA. A lot of them are like very off to one side, but Gibson's generally pretty centered. The tuning pegs are hard to tell. That's a hard one because that could also be replaced. I would go by more of the look of the actual wood on the neck. I mean, this heel joint right there is a dead giveaway. This is one of the better replicas though, so a lot of ones that you might see are much easier to spot. The cavity covers on these replicas are generally matte like this, whereas on the original ones they're very glossy. The overall shape is usually kind of wrong on the replicas. The horn is much more round on here. And also just general little paint mistakes on these replicas are pretty common, like that there. But the most obvious thing to look for, in my opinion, is this heel joint and the ears on the headstock. That's a dead giveaway. And you don't have to take the guitar apart to find that out. And the truss rod is the safest way to do it, but if the seller's nefarious, they might not want you opening that up. So in that case, just look at the headstock. I mean, yeah, this is some fake mother of pearl looking material that they have here, and to the naked eye, it looks okay. But if you look at an original Gibson logo, the material is much more clear, and you can see the lines around the logo. Like, it's not a water slide decal like it is on the fake. Unfortunately, Gibson quality is pretty low, so sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between the fakes and the real ones, but there are some dead giveaways.